One of the problems that I face coming here, in general, is it seems that people have a lowered expectation of the ability of blacks and other minorities to do the job. And so you have you have TAs and graduate students who will frequently tell you that you know, don't if you're getting a C or a C plus, that you're doing well, that you're doing fine if you're like in the low B range. And even if your personal expectations may be greater, like if you're thinking I can get an A in this class if I just pull it up, you'll have a TA or something who's very much satisfied to see you get like a low B or a high C. And generally it just seems, I've had this happen in particular, with one TA who won't be named, but he know who he is. And I know who he is too. So, you know, and they tend to act surprised and shocked that like you can actually get A's and B's at MIT. And this seems to add to the general perception of the community that the blacks here are here only because expectations have been lowered and just to accommodate affirmative action or to for some appearance of diversity. And in general, if that were true, I think a lot more black people would be here. So I mean, that's about all I got to say.
Yeah, I think one of the things, like last year I had a specific incident like that. One of my TAs, I went to him after my final grade was in, and I went and asked him, how can you justify giving me a B in this class? I went down it, went through every grade with him. He said, yeah, you're right. What was I doing? I said, well, are you going to change this? And, he was like, well, it's really a lot of trouble. We have to go all the way down to the office, which was about right down the hallway. And, he was like, well, how important is the A to you? And, I have to wonder if he'd be asking me that if I wasn't black. I don't think it's that much of a burden on him to walk down the hall when he knows when he admitted he made a blatant mistake on my grade. And, I don't think he would have asked me that question if I wasn't black. And I mean, the TAs just don't seem to expect us to either A, have the desire to get an A or the ability to get an A here.
People seem to always think that, okay, if I do, if I don't do so well on the test, that I'm automatically going to try to look at my TA or my professor and claim racism. I'm not, I don't think anybody in this room is trying to do that. If you mess up on the test, first I look within myself and see, what could I have done better to perform better on that test? What made me, do the things that I did on this exam or this paper or whatever. And I think the perception a lot of the time is that with black people or minority people, automatically the first thing you look to cry in any sort of crisis situation is, oh, that's racism, oh, that's unfair, I'm being treated differently. And when I can personally say that's definitely not the case, because the environment that I come from, I'm from the South, and I've dealt with racism, overt racism. I've been called nigger. I've seen the Klan. I've seen, I come from David Duke country, if you want to call it. And it's like, when I came up to MIT, I expected things to be different, and they are very different, aside from the incident that happened recently, I'd never heard of anyone being, shouted at, called nigger, called this before. And the thing that I find about, the type of racism that's up here, it's very covert. It's very smile in your face, stab you in the back type of racism. And I think a lot of times people don't even realize that, what they're saying is racist, or that the things that they are doing are really, harming you and that are unfair to you.
I went to an admissions roundtable a couple weeks ago where they wanted us to talk about life at MIT and how we felt about it in a very frank and upfront manner so they could rewrite the view book for prospective freshmen. And the last question they wanted to ask the people was, who are your role models? And I said, I don't have any at MIT because there's not a black female professor in engineering or science here that I could look at and say, wow, she's really come a long way. and go talk to her and find out what she did, what she had to go through, and say, okay, one day I can do that. And I don't think people really understand what kind of effect that could have on us. White people can walk anywhere they want to walk and find 800 role models here and have somebody tell them in a very upfront and personal manner what they can expect when they get out of here. There's nobody on this campus who can tell me what to look forward to or what I shouldn't be looking forward to.
As a woman, I don't think there's anything that I've experienced. Well, yes, there has been gender-related things, but as far as being black, I know that just this term, as a matter of fact, I was taking design class, and I was working with a partner. In the design class, there was about 10 students, and 10 or 15, and there was only 2 of us who were black, and we knew each other. And, you know, we were working together and talking together, just as all the Asians were talking together, and the Indians and the whites. And the instructor had a problem with this, but he didn't, you know, say anything about it until we were working on a project, which was an independent project. It was drawing, and I was drawing, you know, my sketch, and my friend was drawing his sketch next to me. And the instructor came over, and he said, the preamble to his statement was, well, since you all seem to know each other quite well, I would like for you all to do different sketches, you know. And I said, you know, okay, that's no problem, because as my instructor, he can tell me to do, you know, a different sketch, and that would be fine. But the more and more I thought about it, for him to say, you know, since you all obviously know each other well, I felt that had no, you know, no validity. It had no relevance to what sketches we did. And I began to feel more so that he was saying to me that he felt that we were going to copy each other.
Humanities class of mine, and we were having this discussion, and this woman said something that I really disagreed with, and so I told her, you know, and we debated it in class, and I basically explained my position, I thought, fairly well, so that she understood and changed her mind. Okay, and then after class, I was walking down the hall, and she ran after me, and she stopped me, and she said that she was really glad that I felt that I could speak up in class, and that I could disagree with her, and that she was, and I know she wanted to use the word proud, that, you know, I had the courage to stand up and speak my mind. And I was like, I can't believe that this person is saying this to me. You know, maybe I was just too dumbfounded to reply, but she, you know, she just said that and basically patted me on the head and then, you know, walked away. And, I mean, that just got me so angry.
Well, I just came out of a lecture today, and I found something very offensive at the end of the lecture. It was a question period for 5-10 minutes, and the questions were going quite well, and the debates were beginning to get heated. However, one student, or I'm not sure what his role was, but he asked a question with an accent, a rather Asian accent, and the speaker immediately slowed down his tone, explained as if in child's terms what he means, almost asking back what the question was. And I don't think that that was really necessary in a lecture hall, just because, I mean, if I speak with an accent, you don't have to speak back with something outside your language.
I'm a physics major, and I used to do problem sets with all these boys, and I mean, that's exactly, I'm actually amazed that we all have such similar experiences, and that, you know, you have an idea or a solution or something, and you say it, and most of the time, the other members of the group, who are usually men and sometimes white, most of the time white, will just kind of brush you aside. And actually, it's happened to me many times, is that they'd kind of say, well, I don't think so, or whatever, and then we'd kind of chase the problem around for an hour, and then they'd come back to what I said, and then be like, oh, that's such a good idea. And I was like, well, I kind of said that. And they're like, no, you didn't. Or, no, you must have said it wrong. Or, well, you should have spoken up. Or, you know, that kind of thing. And I totally don't think that's my fault at all. I mean, I might have complexes thinking that, you know, I should be more assertive or whatever, but I think the fact that they brush it aside has everything to do with the fact that they see me and I'm an Asian woman. And regardless of how subconscious they want to say it is, the fact that they see me as an Asian woman means that they see me as less assertive or less intelligent or just less there.
I think they know us. Exactly. I don't think I think a lot of professors here, a lot of teachers here have the assumption like Asian students don't need help, that they can work it out on their own, and they know that they're going to get good grades, and there's just that stereotype. And again, it's the ignorance of that. That's why we don't have that kind of thing, because nobody thinks that we need help, when actually sometimes some of us do.
Exactly.
You know, I think this is what we want, Mr. Best. You know, I think that's the thing. I think they just don't know.
I don't have any Hispanic, older person to go to when I have a problem, like academic. I don't know, I just sometimes feel more comfortable because many times like my doubts in school are like, I think I'm in Spanish. And, I try to speak to a TA and he's Japanese or, I don't know, American. And I just cannot get it through, and the person gets frustrated because I cannot get the words. But I guess if I had somebody who, a faculty or staff who could, kind of like lead me on how to get along, with those questions, I think it would be much better.
Are there any? Yes.
There are. There are a few, and I know that the Hispanic students have taken classes with those Hispanic professors. They developed like this bond, and that professor's like their mentor throughout.
So you start off in a school like this, and your confidence is not the greatest one. You see all these people with so much confidence, with getting A's on tests and stuff like that, and you think yourself that you're never gonna make it like that, or that if you do, you're gonna have such a hard time that it's gonna break you, And then when that happens, people, when you don't have such a good confidence, people perceive that, and they think that you're something less than they are, and they start treating you like that. So that comes around, and that makes you feel even less confident. So it's a whole circular process, and it's very hard to break because you feel like you can't overcome those barriers that you're faced with, and that everything is just gonna go against you. And in some way, when you become less confident, everybody around you sees that, and they treat you like that, and so everything starts all over again. And I think that's very hard to stop, and that has happened to me so many times. Like TAs, they look at me and they start. Sometimes I stutter because I can't think of the words that I'm trying to say in English or something, and it's very hard for me to express myself to them. I'm thinking the terms in Spanish, and I'm thinking of all the objects that I'm dealing with in Spanish, and I'm trying to explain it to them, and they see that I'm just so confused and everything. So they think that I'm not that smart or anything, and they start treating me like that. They start treating me like they have pity on me, and they have treating me like, oh, you can, if you need extra help or something. And I don't mind the extra help. I love the extra help, but not when it comes in a context, oh, I feel sorry for you, therefore I think I should give you extra help. I mean, if you're gonna give everybody extra help, then I feel great when you give me extra help because you're treating me like everybody else. But sometimes TAs come up to you like, do you need extra help because, oh, you're Puerto Rican and you're Hispanic and you're not as smart as everybody else and you got here because of affirmative action. So I feel sorry for you, so I have to give you extra help. And stuff like that is just so frustrating because it makes you feel like you can't work, and it does affect you a lot, and it's so hard to overcome it, I think.
Most of the time they don't expect Hispanics to do as well in classes as other people, as like, I don't know, Asians or white students. But I think many people has proved them wrong, and I've noticed that even Hispanics think that way. When they go up to in class, they say, no, if I get a C, I'll pass, and that's their final goal. And I think that's not the way you go up to a class. I think they have, I don't know, we're living with that, and I don't know. I think that should change.